The AFL need to incorporate a second competition, and that competition will mirror that of the FA Cup in football or Premier League soccer. Now, for those unfamiliar, the FA Cup is a separate competition which involves every single side from every single English division. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is get every AFL side, every VFL, waffle side, even lower leagues, the country leagues, every single AFL league and division, put them in one big bowl, randomize the teams, and then basically have a massive competition where clubs fight for a different trophy than what they would win in their particular league. Now, why do this? Well, there's a multitude of reasons. The first is quite simply, there's going to be more than just one fan base who celebrate a premiership. If we isolate the AFL, 17 teams, 17 fan bases leave the season feeling not underwhelmed, but they haven't accomplished anything. And that's all purely because one team wins, the one fan base is happy, 17 go home sad. Where if you did have something like the FA Cup, I don't know what you would call it, the footy cup, fuck knows, that is an opportunity for not only an AFL team to win this separate trophy, but lower leagues. And that's what gets me on to my second point, is it is exposure for the lesser leagues. It's an opportunity for people to showcase their skills to a wider audience. You could get some amazing country footballers, some amazing Tasmanians, some amazing, Northern Territory players who not many people know about because they're not from Victoria. So if you support, or even if you play for a, very low division side, lower than VFL, maybe even lower than country divisions, if this competition were to happen, you could all of a sudden have an amazing opportunity to play an AFL side, to play at some really cool stadiums. And equally, if you're an AFL player and you're playing against, someone who's 5 divisions below you, you get to play at their local ground, and it's a cool experience. Financially as well, look, I'm not a financial channel. I don't know how the finances would work, but I'm sure get some sponsors in, it would make sense. It would bring in money, community football, grassroots football, it would just work. And it's just so much more exciting because, if an AFL team or whatever team wins this so-called FA Cup that's going to happen, they have something to celebrate, which means, you can celebrate that or the league they win. And you can even get things like, the doubles, in soccer, there's a massive thing about the treble, teams that win the treble, Barcelona, Man United, now Man City just won it. That could be this new thing for AFL teams and coaches to conquer, the double, winning the premiership, getting the flag that year, and also winning this cup tournament. And I think the cup tournament is just fucking sick. I'm not sure how lower divisions will be able to fit it in, but I think it's fucking awesome. Think about the layers that come into football now. Like, if we're once again isolating the AFL, suddenly coaches need to have depth to their squad. It's not about the starting 18 and 22 that play. It's about what depth do you have? Because, if you are playing 2 games a week, assuming this is, the way the FA Cup works is it gets played midweek. So if that's going to happen, then that would mean that coaches need to rest a lot of key players. Obviously, one of the big problems is, will people care about it? We've seen pre-season fixtures, cups, all these different trophies and, alleged pre-season, all this stuff, and no one gives a fuck. Let's be real. And the AFL tried and they failed. But what if you included all the lower divisions? And suddenly it's not just AFL fans, it's VFL fans. It's fans of the local footy team down the road. It encapsulates everyone from every state, and it suddenly turns into this amazing opportunity. At least that's just how I see it. And people will probably say, can the AFL won't be able to afford it. I'm sure they can fucking afford it. Make up the funds. It will produce a lot of money. I guess another question to this is, how can you make this trophy prestigious enough where teams and people care about it? I mean, ultimately the heritage and the history of a trophy is what, makes it so important. So the only thing that you can sort of do to maybe combat that is maybe put some money on the line. Maybe there's a big, financial benefit to the winners of this, or there's some sort of advantage to get. Look, I'm not sure. I'm just putting this out there because, a lot of these videos I make on my channel are sort of talking about how you can change the AFL, ways to develop it, expand it, to change it. Change is very important. It's very fucking obvious. And I think changes like this are just exciting. And there have been some absolute famous stories from the FA Cup, in the English divisions, where teams not in the Premier League, teams from lower division sides end up winning the tournament, beating all these, good teams, great teams with great players. Like, imagine if what's a good example? Imagine if Norwood or Frankston or, one of those other lesser teams won. It is suddenly this amazing opportunity. If you play the FA Cup at the biggest stadium, the footy cup, whatever we're going to call it, if you played at the G every year, heaps of fans, or hopefully would go, especially, on the assumption that one of the better teams makes it to the final. Ultimately, ultimately, I think it is a good opportunity. And now that Andrew Dillon's in, you know, he's obviously going to be playing around with some different things. He already is with the round 0 bullshit and other things. So why not implement a trophy called, let's call it the Footy Cup, where every team, not just the AFL, but from every division plays. The opportunities that will arise, the excitement for fans, they get multiple games to watch a week, you know, and it just adds so many layers to the competition. Because ultimately, the AFL has been trying to expand for many and many years, but, you know, for some reason, we just don't seem to do it. And things like this will ultimately help expand, at least throughout Australia, you know, less of an emphasis on Victoria. You know, people start to recognize Tassie players, like I've already said, you know, Northern Territory, others. And hopefully this will help expand it throughout the globe. But that is a different type of video I wanted to put forward because I just think it's a really good idea. Obviously, there are flaws. There are flaws to every idea. You know, ultimately, there is a reason they haven't made this, you know, Footy Cup a thing, but let's make it happen. I'm sure the coaches will hate it, but if you make it a thing, if you try and make it as wanted as possible in a sense where, you know, the award for winning is, you know, not just financially driven, but try to make it somewhat otherwise driven. Make it happen. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. I already know the reasons why you're going to disagree, but it is just an idea. How do you think it would work? Would it work? I honestly think it would. So let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Hope you're enjoying the old chopstick as my microphone here. Follow the TikTok FTFooty. Post there all the time. You know how it goes. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in another video.